Yakını mı? Good afternoon.
Hi, Professor.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm alive. Start to share my screen. Cool. Make sure I've got everything I need. Yep.
And can you hear me?
Yep. You just got in.
Awesome.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Are you okay now?
I still feel like I don't sound like myself or feel like myself, but I think hopefully the worst is over.
It takes time. It's okay.
How are you?
You'll be good.
It's week 12. You know, we gotta. Do you know this? This is a sports idiom, but run out the clock. Do you know that? Do you know that idiom?
Yeah, there is
This
different way of sounding. Yep.
We are in a run out the clock situation. Let's just finish the semester. You know what I'm saying?
Yay.
So we'll see how it goes. Hey, Linda.
Good.
Hi, Professor. Happy to see you well and healthy.
Yeah, well enough, I guess, you know.
Well. You look like better than I last like a meeting.
Oh, that's good to know. I appreciate you saying that. That's helpful. I do feel better. I do feel better. But I had to cancel my Zooms on Tuesday. You guys got the last time when I could kind of talk, because Tuesday and Wednesday I was a mess. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you should have do that earlier.
Hi, Susanna. How are you?
I know,
Hi,
you're right.
Good. How are you, Linda?
Thank you.
Hey, Sanad.
Out and about.
Is that your office, Susanna?
Yeah, it's the pretty messy office. I was doing a cleaning today.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, it's a couple of days. If I don't come here, obviously no guys clean anything.
Right, yeah.
And it proves to be a mess.
Yeah.
So I organized the papers, got a couple of customers, stuff like that. Now going back home.
What kind of business is it, Susanna?
It's an auto body shop.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah, in a mess.
And Sanad saying hi, everybody in the chat. Hello, beautiful
Team.
team. That's so nice, Sanad. Team is a good word. Well, I'm really excited for today's class. Actually, I'm trying something new today. I'm excited to try it. I think you'll like it. And I think we'll all learn something here. So we'll see how it goes.
Because you are here, so we learn a lot.
I felt so bad though, you know, when students send the emails or texts and it takes 3 or 4 days, it's hard. Sanat says, my manager came back from his trip and has lots of work for me. Uh-oh. So did you finish the book, Sanat? Did you finish this little baby book? Did you finish it? Because if you didn't finish it, you're gonna find out the ending today, even if you didn't finish, Sanat. That's my warning, okay?
Pretty hot today.
Yeah, in the
And
sun.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a sweater and I'm sweating already.
It's good that it's warming up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. It's better be hot than cold.
Yeah. I think that's another part of the reason that I started to feel sick, just temperature change, you know, really, really cold all of a sudden, then a different temperature, different day and time.
Yeah, weather.
I gotta wear a hat. I gotta wear a hat all the time to keep my head warm. That's the problem.
Oh yeah, just something to cover your forehead.
Yeah.
And drink a lot of vitamins.
That I do.
I just can.
Lots of tea,
It helps.
lots of lemon, lots of ginger, lots of water.
Yeah, ginger is good.
Ginger, lemon tea, lots of soups.
Yeah, that's it. Lots of sleep.
Oh.
It's the only way. It's the only way to rest. Americans are really bad at stopping when they're sick, though, man. Americans never stop, I think, in general.
I take it easy.
Do you?
Well, like mentally, I take it mentally easy.
You
My
guys,
daughter, she's sick
different.
too, but just like it's okay. It's, it's 10 days, like 10, 14 days max.
Yeah.
So it's a process.
Sanad says she read the book. Yay. And then she says, I want to look for a place to check if I can find some pearls. I mean, I don't know about the pearl beds in California. Those might be all, people might have already found all the pearls off the coast of California. I don't know. Where are there large pearl beds? Pearl beads. Did I spell it wrong?
You think I can take classes if I'm not vaccinated?
In the I don't know. I mean, you're going to be fine in the spring, so I don't even want to make predictions about the fall. I can tell you now that I will be there in the fall in a classroom in the fall. So, but I don't know how strict they're going to be about the vaccine mandate next year. I don't know.
Yeah, because right now I cannot enter the campus. I will be fined.
Sanad says, oh, Sanad, you got your booster. Sanad says, I took my 3rd dose. So did you get your booster shot, Sanad? It's not time for me to get my booster yet. Aki's here. Hey, Aki.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. I know my niece, she got her because she's 11. So they were starting to talk about when they were going to vaccinate the nieces and nephews. But my sister's a little nervous. She doesn't want to vaccinate her kids yet. So everybody's got strong opinions, you know.
Yep, that's the hardest part. I'm debating myself, get vaccinated. I'm definitely not doing it for my kids. No, not now for sure.
Well, good. I mean, if you just want more time to see how people respond, again, the good news is, Susanna, you don't need to worry about it until
Yeah, no,
August
I don't have a
2022. You know,
I don't have a strong opinion about getting vaccinated or not. You know, if people want to get it.
Why
you know,
you
they
will
can-
back? Why?
wait, what did you say, Sanad?
On weekend, I took my third dose of vaccine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Why?
because what happened here? Yeah, I told you they. Mhm.
That is working hard and talking about. So did you feel sick after the booster shot? Sanad? Okay, I'm gonna
It
mute.
just, for the adults it's different, but for younger kids it's unpredictable. You know, my brother-in-law's cousin, he's 14 and
Yeah.
he got vaccinated and he developed some side effects. You know, his jaw kind of deformed after that. He cannot talk well. You know, he goes through a lot of recovery right now, but it's like, man, you don't know. It's something that, I don't know, it's unpredictable, especially the kids.
Yeah, like I said, people are gonna choose, people are gonna choose.
Yeah.
I support you all, whatever you want to do. And I think the good news, again, we're going to have, even in the fall, next fall, we finally had we had a 3-hour meeting on Friday, you guys. I was like sick and coughing and trying to have a Zoom meeting with my other professors. But we had a 3-hour meeting. We will have a lot of, well, you'll be done, Susanna, because you'll be done with ESL classes, but we're going to have, not, I wouldn't say like a lot of online options, but we're going to have both. We're going to have face-to-face classes and online options, especially starting at 315, 320, 340, 350. Those classes will definitely have online options for
Yeah.
our department.
Do I need 340 for nursing? I'm not sure.
Did you take English 300?
Yeah, I'm currently taking it.
Okay, then no, you don't need 340.
Okay. Good to know.
How's English 300 right now?
It's good. It just feels like more history class. You know, the English and history is kind of related, but it's mostly for, the Black culture. I
Yes.
guess it's a personal choice because every professor it's different, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot of English 300 now. It's a lot of social justice, racial justice. All the books are about, Black culture.
And I feel like I'm taking history class another semester.
Are they
And
teaching? Are they teaching you how to write essays, or are they talking about how to write at all?
Well, first of all, I don't know my professor. We don't have a Zoom classes, and that's the most, I'm sorry for my language, effed up part of it. Because, when you communicate and you explain it, it's different than just learning by your own. So
Yeah.
basically, I just go, I learn it. A lot of stuff, I Google it.
Yeah.
So, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm good. So I understand the concept. It just takes me a lot of time to digest things.
Yeah. Lots of reading.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of reading, a lot. And I stress. That's why I said like your class, it's like something you learn, but you don't stress.
Do you think
So I feel like I have
But do you think it's too easy, Susanna?
no.
Okay.
I think it's really good. Yeah, no, I think it's really, it might be easy for me, but it might be not easy for someone else.
Yeah, it's
And
tricky.
there's a balance.
This is what I think about. I just worry that when Patrick came, he had a great time in the class, but you can just, everybody has a very strong opinion about online learning. So sometimes I just worry about some of the, let's say, cranky or judgmental people in my department. Like, what would they think? They're like, Jeff is just a lazy bum. He's,
No.
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time for you guys as students. it's a weird time for us as teachers. It's just weird still, you know.
Well, I'm an honest person. So there was like a teacher evaluation. I don't know, it was for your class. So I don't know, it was a student evaluation, something, say like how the professor is, how you
Yeah.
learn the class. So, and it was for your class. So I gave my opinion, but if it was for my other class, I would say this is not okay. Because even though your class is online, but the fact that you're presenting and you just present there and you teach, you talk, and we get in discussions, and then we just talk about the class. It provides a lot. It's just like, it's a good variant of being out of class, but at the same time you're in the class.
Yeah.
You are involved.
Well, that's
That's
good.
a big thing.
That's good. I'm glad you feel that way. I hope you guys do, Sanad, Linda, Aki. I hope you guys agree. We're all doing our best, and we got one more. I think again, online learning, the option, it's going to be here. It's not going away. So it's good to figure out how it can be good.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Aki says she agrees. I think Aki, I don't know if you're at work, Sanad's at work, Susanna's getting back from work.
My daughter, she wants in and out, so I'm gonna drop it in and out.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Look at you. Okay, so today, usually Frank is here, and I was thinking about Frank a lot when I was preparing today's lesson, because he was saying, Jeff, we need an example essay. How do you do a full essay? And I think he's right. I think he's right. We need to look at some example essays here. So today, again, well, today is Monday, November 8th. It is week 12. Like I said to Susanna, we're getting there. We're running out the clock. We're coming to the end slowly but surely. And our agenda for today really is just a character analysis essay example. I've got an example essay that I want to go through with you, show it to you, talk about it. And then after we go through the example essay, we can review any of the character analysis stuff that we watched last week. We can answer questions. Because I'm not going to do it today, but next week, so Monday, November, let me check my dates here, 15th, right? I'm going to introduce the final essay, and the final essay will be basically like what I'm going to show you today, right? It'll be about a 2,000-word character analysis essay from the Pearl. So I'm going to introduce that next week, and then we'll have time to ask questions and talk about it and all that good stuff. But that's what my plan is for today, right? To show you an example of what I want you to do. And you'll have, a month to do it, right? You'll have about a month to do this. And then we can just do a Q&A workshop, and we can talk about, we can just talk about the essay. So that is my plan. Before I start that, any ideas, questions, concerns, anything I can talk about before I get started with my lecture for today?
Professor, 2,000 words. Oh
Well,
my God. What are you gonna do for us?
I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you. Well, you have a month, and I'll give you. Well, I'm gonna. Yeah. What, I think that's a fair question. What are?
So we're gonna collect 5 words in a day for the whole month, right?
That's your plan. That's your plan. Yeah. Do 5. Right. Write 1 sentence every day for a month. You could do it that way. You could do it that way. I love that. But that's why I was thinking about Frank and wanted to give you an example of this, right? And you're going to see a lot of these, well, not a lot, but some good amount of the words in your essay will be just quotes from the book, right? And again, I'm going to show you the example today. We're going to talk about the structure. We're going to basically talk about the structure for the next 3 weeks, because I know that I had you buy The Lathe of Heaven. I don't think we're going to do it. It's going to be way too much, but I hope you read it someday. It's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite books ever written. It's so amazing. But I think we should just focus on learning the structure for character analysis essay, because I think it's fun and interesting, and it's doable. It really is. It is doable. So you know what I'm going to do, Linda? I'll give you lots of time, lots of examples, give you opportunities. But you are right, I think, right? Like if you write in pieces,
yeah,
if you start writing when I present you. Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better. If you save it for the last week, that might be painful, you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Anybody else? Linda's
I'm sorry, but I just like 2,000 words.
You're trying to kill us. Hey, you just did 1,500 for the poetry. Okay, you guys are on it. Any other ideas before I go to my example essay here? Let's go. You'll get more of my kind of sniffly voice today. I love that I'm watching Susanna order maybe a double. I don't know. I should stop distracting her. All right. So first, I can show you in Canvas. This Word document that I'm going to show you right now, it is already in the live support materials page. If you look under today's date, 11/8, right here where it says example character analysis essay, right? Preview, download. So again, my suggestion. So what am I going to do for you, Linda? My suggestion is download the document and just use it as a template, right? Your essay should look like this, kind of follow this structure. Again, we're going to go through it, but even this, right? The first thing you can do on your own is just open this document and write your own name here, right? So student name, my name, the class, and the due date. And then I've given a title here for this essay is called a character analysis of the town of La Paz in John Steinbeck's The Pearl. We could change this to of Kino, of Juana, of whatever character you end up doing your analysis for. But my example here, I wanted to choose something that might seem a little bit different or strange and focus on this idea that the town in the book is like a character in the story. So let's just start with the introduction. We'll go in chunks and let's just talk about it. Okay, so for thousands of years, there has been, let me zoom in. So again, a character analysis of the town of La Paz in John Steinbeck's The Pearl. For thousands of years, there has been a divide between human beings who live in cities and in rural areas. And people have debated if living in a big city helps to promote human flourishing or encourages the worst human impulses. As the Nobel Prize winning poet Joseph Brodsky once said, "What I like about cities is that everything is king size, the beauty and the ugliness." However, not everyone would agree with Brodsky when he says that he likes the ugliness of the city. In his short parable novel, The Pearl, John Steinbeck addresses this theme of traditional rural life versus big city living. Specifically, he explores whether or not towns and the people who live in them represent good or evil. Although there are positive elements associated with the town, by the end of The Pearl, it is clear that Steinbeck believes that the town is evil, ugly, and cruel, and that it corrupts kind and pure people who live in smaller, more traditional villages. So this is our introduction paragraph. Even if you're thinking about the 5-paragraph essay structure, it should hopefully feel pretty familiar. These first 2 sentences, what am I doing in these first 2 sentences? Am I going big picture or small details?
No, big picture, I think.
Yes, Linda says big picture, and I totally agree, right? And if people can't talk right now, that's totally fine. It's all good. I can talk to myself. This is definitely big picture, right? Whether you want to call this the hook, whatever you want to call this, the thing that grabs attention. Remember, whether you've taken 325 or 340 or English 300, we know, right? We talk about this, we start really, it's like a funnel. At the top, we go really big, really wide, and then we get narrow as we go. So for thousands of years, wow, okay, now we're talking about thousands of years on the time scale, but we also introduce the topic. So in this first sentence, where do I introduce the topic? What are some words that tell me the topic? Anybody? I can talk to myself. I'll tell you. So I think I'm trying to introduce this topic, or again, we could talk about topic, we could talk about theme, but I think I'm trying to introduce topic or theme right here, right? So for thousands of years, okay, big picture, there's been a divide. We could even include this divide between human beings who live in big cities and rural areas. And people have debated if living in a big city promotes human flourishing or encourages the worst human impulses.
Like I thought it's from people have debated.
Here, people have debated.
Yeah. Till a human.
And maybe it's all of this, Linda, right? Maybe it's all of this, you know. There are kind of two different ideas. There's this idea of urban versus rural, and then there is this idea of, okay, does the city help or hurt human beings, right? So yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. So maybe we could say urban versus rural. I'll sort of separate this out. This is like one idea. And I'll kind of call this like one or something. And then two, like you're saying here, is this second idea but we see how these are connected, hopefully, right? Like you introduce the big broad topic, cities versus rural, or cities versus rural, but then we say something about it, right? We talk about how people feel about the city or how people judge the city or something like that. So I'm going to remove that. Cool.
Like at first it's between like villages, let's say, and city, and then he's specific with people who's living in the cities.
Exactly right. And then this is, if I was going to say, and again, if we're talking about what we're doing when we're writing, right? This is what I'm always talking to you guys about all the time, even whether it's a poem or an analysis of a poem or a literary essay. You know, the most valuable thing you can do when you're writing is not just think, oh my God, I need to write good grammar, but is to just think like, what am I trying to do in this sentence? What am I trying to say? I'd say in this first sentence, I'm introducing sort of two topics, right? Urban versus rural. And then, sometimes the city helps and hurts people, right? Does the city help people or hurt people? And I'd say if this sentence here is kind of like the more traditional hook, right? I've got a quote from a famous person, but that quote is connected to the topic that I already introduced. And we do get this same sort of, remember, we talked a lot about good and bad, white and black, man and woman, these binaries, right? And even in that quote, we get that binary, beauty and ugliness, right? So is the city beautiful? Is the city ugly? Both? What do we think? So then what am I doing in this next sentence where I say, however, not everyone would agree with Brodsky when he says that he likes the ugliness of the city. What am I doing here?
Disagree.
Okay, disagreeing. What else am I doing even just within the context of this essay?
Contrary.
Contrary, true, however is giving me contrary. But notice, let me continue. After this sentence, I say, in his short parable novel, The Pearl. So I think in addition to contrary or talk, like giving a little bit of an opinion, I think these sentences here, kind of like up to this point, I'm going to write a comment so it's clear people can see it in the recording. I'd say this is an example of a transition sentence, right?
Because of however.
Right, even though we have that word however, which can give us contrary, difference of opinion, all that stuff is very true, right? But within the context of the essay, this is sort of getting us away from the big picture, because after this sentence, what do? I introduce.
Not everyone would agree, yeah.
To move us into a transition sentence, to allow the writer to introduce the book and the specific book and author that we'll write about, right? So again, you're right. However, give some contrast, compare, difference of opinion. But then, however, not everyone would agree with Brodsky when he says that he likes the ugliness of the city. For, you know, I could have even done this, like, for example, right? I mean, that's kind of what this sentence is saying, right? For example, in his short parable novel, but I chose not to. So we just jumped right into, In his short parable novel, The Pearl, John Steinbeck addresses this theme of traditional rural life versus big city living. Again, I'd say here, I'm going back up. I'm going back up to some of the themes that the topics that had already been introduced, right? And now again, I'm using signal words. Like again, we could have used, for example, we could have used in addition, you know, all these sentence specific adverbials that you guys have probably learned in, like I said, 325 or 340 or English 300. This is a word to give more specific. Well, what would I say, like specifier? Right, words like specifically, in addition, for example, like I was saying, these are all ways that you can, in addition, for example, these are all phrases or sentence adverbials that you can use as a way to send a signal to the reader. Hey, reader, I'm going to give you some specific information. I'm transitioning away from big theme of thousands of years into something much more specific about this one book by John Steinbeck, right? And then we'll finish this, and then I'll make sure we're on the same page. Specifically, he explores whether or not towns and the people who live in them represent good and evil. Now, I have this in quotes, but this is an example that we don't really need to give an in-text citation for. It's only a couple words. And we see this, you know, again, the reason that I chose not to put this in quotations is it's from this introduction page, right? Like we don't even get a page number for this. Talking too much. So that's why I didn't use an in-text citation here. And then I finish. Although there are positive elements associated with the town, by the end of The Pearl, and this should be in italics, excuse me, it is clear that Steinbeck believes the town is evil, ugly, and cruel, and it corrupts kind and pure people who live in smaller, more traditional villages. So what's this sentence?
Thesis.
Yeah.
Thesis.
Yeah, I agree. I tried to give you guys a clear example of like one specific, and let's even be really clear here in your thesis statement, right? What are some of the specific words just in this one sentence that are really important, right? What especially, I'm going to give you a big hint here, adjectives. What kind of adjectives do you see me using in the thesis statement?
Positive elements.
Okay, positive elements. Positive is an adjective. What else?
What time by the end of the period? Ugly, evil.
Yes. Evil.
Cruel.
Cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a few more after that. And that's in opposition to, or that's different from what?
From positive.
Yep,
right?
From positive. And at the end, that it corrupts what kind of people?
Who live in smaller, more traditional villages.
Excellent. Kind, pure. Now, why I'm pointing this out to you is, as we continue reading this essay, you're going to notice that these adjectives, I reuse these adjectives repeatedly throughout the essay. Remember, whatever information you put in this thesis statement, the person reading it, grading it, whatever, is going to hold you accountable for here, right? So the more specific you can be in the thesis, the better. So again, with your thinking about Juana and Kino, right? Because you're gonna get to choose. Do you want to write about Kino or do you want to write about Juana? If you're gonna say, Steinbeck makes it clear that Kino is a selfish man, and he's, by the end of the book, he's an evil, selfish man. And be very clear, right? Be very clear in that analysis, right? You don't want to say Kino is, or if you're going to say Kino is partially good and partially bad, even more reason to be very specific with whatever you mean by good and bad. If you mean good is sometimes he's brave, you better put brave in the thesis. If by good you mean sometimes he's generous, not really in this story. Well, so don't choose generous, but you know what I mean? Like, I want to, I'm pointing this out because to show you in the sentence before, I've got good and evil. General sort of words, right? In the thesis statement, when you're actually saying, hey, the book shows this about this character, I want you to be as specific with the words you use as possible. And then, as we'll see in the continuing examples, I want you to reuse those terms as you continue in your essay. Okay, Frank's here and Andres here. Hi, you guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, Frank. Frank, this is exactly, I told them before you got here, this lesson is inspired by you. We're just looking at an example character analysis essay. And Frank, I don't think you were here when I showed you, but it's already here in Canvas. So everything I'm showing you is already in Canvas for you too, Frank.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So this, we just look, and what we were doing, Frank, before you got here is we were just looking at the introduction paragraph example and doing a quick analysis of it. That's what I did, what I was doing. It makes sense. Linda, you're the class representative today. Does it make sense? Oh, wait.
Yes, but
Got it.
I just like I have a question about the thesis.
Please.
Like you said here, you make it like although it's a kind of like a, you know, something like a comparing or not comparing, say like a, in spite of he was like, let's say about Kino, let's say he was a selfish man, but he was caring about his parents, right? Or his family. I'm sorry, about his family. So here the thesis, it like when we write about one of them, we should like do this like you said, like although or like a Kino says he's selfish man, he still care or loving his family.
Great question. And again, if you've taken 340 or
yeah, I took already, like, okay, pass it.
You know, they talk about the counter argument, or did your teacher talk about the counter argument in 340?
No.
Okay, well, interesting. Okay, in many essays and all types of essays, and this is true for, like Susanna was talking about, for her nursing program, if you're doing social sciences, it's not just about literary analysis, right? So, but this idea of counter argument is very powerful in college, US college writing. And it's that you're going to make an argument, right? Like your thesis statement, even though this is why let me be clear here. Talking too fast. I don't like when we teach you guys at like 55 that we call a certain type of essay an argumentative essay and a certain type of essay a persuasion essay, because it's all kind of the same at the college level, right? At a US university, the expectation is that in your thesis statement, you are making some kind of specific argument about the book, about the article that you read, about whatever, right? Now, because that's true, because I would argue any thesis statement is an argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
One way that you can make your argument more effective is to do this thing about the counter argument, because when you say I'm right because I'm right and you're 100% wrong, that doesn't work, even though that's all we're doing in the United States of America 24 hours a day right now. You're right, you're 100% wrong, I'm 100% right. But it used to be, it usually is, well, we can agree on some things, but I still have this strong belief. So this example that Linda was pointing out, although there are positive elements associated with the town, that's like me saying, hey, just in case you disagree with my thesis here, that the town is an example of evil, ugly, and cruel. Well, okay, I still think I'm right, but there are some nice positive things that happen in the book. And when we sort of introduce this at the beginning, when we sort of drop this example in at the beginning of the essay, we don't really have to talk about it too much more, right? We've kind of already addressed this. Like if someone says, but the town's not 100% evil, you know, in your argument, you can say, yeah, I know. That's why I said at the very beginning of my essay, even though there are some positive elements. But this essay is all about boo, 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 boo. So that was a really long, if your 340 teacher didn't talk about that, you know, sorry, but that's why the thesis statement is structured this way, because this counter argument is a really powerful tool. And like I said, every type of essay, not just argumentative essays, because I stand by what I said. Any thesis statement is an argument, right? Is you making, or we could say, do you guys know this word? I had a composition teacher who loved to use this word. We see this word used as a verb a lot. I claim something. That means like I want it as my own. But a claim as a noun is a statement saying that something happened a certain way or will happen a certain way. A claim is kind of like somewhere in the middle between an opinion and an argument, right? So I think every thesis statement is a claim, and that's why using this counter argument technique can be really effective.
Yeah, but because it's not like an argumentative essay, it's just like an analysis essay, right? So the other reason I was just like wondering, because you said like here, although like there are positive elements, like the thesis, it's kind of argue, right?
Yep, it is. I agree. And that's what I'm saying. So if you in your mind, like, yeah, I would, when we finish the example, Linda, tell me, like, I'd love your opinion, since you guys are all such good ESL students. You've gone through our ESL classes. Like when we get to we should talk about this next week. When you finish this example essay that I wrote for you guys, do you think it feels like an argument essay or an analysis essay? Like, I'm just curious what you guys think, because I really feel like college writing, you're always making a claim. You're always making an argument. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think this is not the argument theory. You have to be, because we have a two element, good or bad. So you cannot argue it. Some point are good, some point are bad.
But you could argue that the town represents freedom and power, and Kino wants access to that freedom, because if he had money, he would be more free and he could make his dreams come true, right? You could argue that, Frank, right? You could argue that the town represents dreams and the future and possibility. You could make that argument, right?
Is it possible to, we can write both ways, positive or negative, or you have to be like a counter argument, the counter argument, you have to be one side opinion. But I can, this is very hard to write one side opinion in this case. Yeah. But for
you're gonna see
but in this case, we have to analyze it.
Yeah, you're gonna see, Frank, you're gonna see in this essay, I do not have a full counter argument paragraph. I don't have a counter argument paragraph like you probably learned, right? But I will say, this is this is a reason some people hate literature classes, that it's kind of like, well, art, art can mean anything. A poem can mean anything. We can interpret it any way that we want to. And that's why I think, but I think this is true as you keep going up college writing, you're still giving you're still making a claim, right? Five people could read the same book and have a different idea about the true meaning of that book, right? Or five of you could read this book and have a different opinion about Kino. But when you write this essay, and when you write all college essays, it's your job to sound like an expert, right? You never say in US college, well, I'm just one person. This is just my one little opinion. I don't know if it's right or wrong. No, in college writing, like, you are always writing like an expert, right? You're like, this clearly shows, this obviously demonstrates. I mean, like, college writing is like, you are the expert. This is what I talk about in my 340 class all the time when I teach it. You have to sort of take on that role of being an expert, even though you just read the book 2 weeks ago, or you're reading 5 articles about this topic, for this semester. That's the tone, right? That's the feeling. So that's why I'm not trying to be too difficult with your good question, Frank. It's just to say, I think another student in this class could write an essay. I would disagree with it personally. But their essay could say the town represents possibility, future, and money. And it's very sad that Kino was not able to become a part of the town. And they could write an essay using totally different examples than the ones that I have here in this essay for you. And that's why I think it still kind of is argumentative, Frank. Does that make sense?
In the Kino case, it's very hard to tell, but his wife is very easy. So this is only one side, you know, but Kino's case is, you know, he changes a lot. His mind changes a lot. So, you know, so where are I gonna put the point for his personality?
Well, let's look at where I used my examples. And Frank, you're right. If you want, I think I don't know if you were here when I said next week. So next week I will introduce the final essay, and you're going to be able to write about Kino or Juana. You choose. So if you want to go easy, Frank, like you said about Juana, that's fine. But for people who choose to write about Kino, maybe you will want to use an entire counter argument paragraph. You know what I mean? If you want to do a whole paragraph, that's fine too. But this type of essay it's not that strict, Frank. It's not like you must write your counter argument essay, or you must write your counter argument paragraph and it must be right before the conclusion. It's not like that. It's not like that. Does that make some sense? Even if it's more.
And I think like writing about Kino gonna be like a 2,000 words.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be, if you choose to write about Kino, it's gonna be easy to write 2,000.
Easy to write 2,000, maybe more than 2,000.
I agree.
In my opinion.
I agree. Okay, let's look at the next paragraph with all these questions in mind. Excellent, amazing questions. And
Thank you, Professor.
We're gonna keep looking at this stuff for the rest of the semester, right? Okay, so my second paragraph. It is important to point out that at the beginning of the story, the reader does not find Kino and his family in the town. The story begins with Kino and his family living peacefully in their grass hut right on the beach. When Kino wakes up in the morning, he heard the little splash of morning waves on the beach. It was very good. From the very beginning of the novel, Steinbeck presents the reader with a version of village life that is simple, beautiful, and pure. Kino wakes up feeling peaceful and content with his wife and child, and he can hear the song of the family in his mind. He sits to have breakfast with his wife after she cooks their meal, and he can hear the song of the family rise to an aching chord that caught the throat, saying, "This is safety, this is warmth, this is the whole." The word whole is very important here, as Steinbeck seems to imply that this simple village life, removed from the town and its concrete buildings, was complete by itself. That is to say, there was no need for anything in the town. However, when baby Coyotito is bitten by a scorpion, Kino and Juana decide to visit the doctor, and they're forced to leave the warmth and safety of their village for the cruel world of the town. Okay, let's talk about this paragraph. What did I do here? What do you notice? What questions do you have? Let's talk about it.
Like, I think part of this, like a first paragraph, it's from a book, right? Like a quotation from a book, and you describe their life on the beach, near the beach, and the word hall. Then you like specify with the word hall.
I'm going to see if I can get a better view here that we can read. It won't look as pretty, but I might not have this big break on the page. Hold on.
I'm reading like in my phone, like, because I opened this out, like this essay in a phone, so I can.
Good.
I just like a follow tracking with you.
This is better, I think. It looks different to me. It looks strange, but at least I can do the whole screen here. And that way you can see the whole thing. Okay, yeah, so this is the paragraph we're looking at. So Linda's exactly right. In the first body paragraph, right, after the introduction, after your thesis, where you say, Juana is an example of a character who blah, 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 blah. Kino is an example of a character who blah, 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 blah. Then you're going to introduce what? Quotes from the textbook. And notice, what page do I start on here? Where do I start introducing quotes?
Number 1.
Right from the beginning, right? So this is good news for you guys. Like Linda was saying, oh my gosh, 2,000 words, right? But the good news is the structure of this essay, you can just use the structure of the story, right? Like you can just, the first paragraph should be where you're analyzing the actions and the behavior of the character at the beginning of the story. And then you can continue in that same chronological order, right? So that's good news, I hope. Now, Linda said, I've got a quote. And of course, I've also got something that ESL students know all the time. Sanada says, describing Kino's family. Exactly. Sanad says, describing in the chat. Linda, I forget, you maybe said describing too.
Yeah.
I'm going to say summarizing, right? I'm summarizing kind of the first chapter. I'm summarizing all of the events that happened. And well, and maybe not all the events, right? This is a tricky balance. I don't expect you guys to know exactly how to do this stuff perfectly, right? But I'm just introducing the most important parts from the plot and how those parts from the plot connect to my character analysis, right? And what I just said, it sounds, you know, it's one short sentence. Find the most important parts from the plot to connect to your character analysis. It sounds so easy, right? It's very difficult, but that's really the whole, in your body paragraphs, you guys, this is what I want you to do. Find quotes and moments from the plot and connect them to your character analysis, right? And I want to show you some example sentences of how to do that, right? How I do it here and how you can do it in your essays. So again, I'll notice what else. Well, I'll just keep going. I'll keep going. Hold on. So I'll reread. It is important to point out that at the beginning of the story, the reader does not find Kino and his family in the town. The story begins with Kino and his family living peacefully in their grass hut right on the beach. When Kino wakes up in the morning, quote, he heard the little splash of morning waves on the beach. It was very good. Now, notice, so what do I have here? I mean, I've kind of just got a topic sentence and I'm kind of just summarizing. Then I get my quote, right? I get my quote. Any questions about what I'm doing in these first 3 sentences here?
No.
Frank, makes sense, Frank?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now what am I doing here? What am I, this is the most important part for students often. So after the quote, he heard the little splash of morning waves on the beach. It was very good. Then I say, from the very beginning of the novel, Steinbeck presents the reader with a version of village life that is simple, beautiful, and pure. Kino wakes up feeling peaceful and content with his wife and child, and he can hear the song of the family in his mind. Whose ideas are these?
Author.
Well, now this is the tricky part, right? This is the tricky part. Whose ideas are these? I think they're mine, they're yours. I think these sentences, I tried to do this in all of the essay, but where after a quote, I'm trying to give you an example of, like Frank was saying, about is this analysis or is this argument? The real
so
thing.
it's like a, yeah, they're right, like us when we try to read, to write.
It's kind of both, right? Like this is kind of an argument and kind of an analysis. Like this quote, I've given a pretty simple quote. It was very good. There's a very simple short quote, right? That doesn't have to mean Steinbeck presents the reader with a perfect version of village life. Like it could mean that. It kind of means that to me. But I mean, here I'm kind of giving I'm analyzing the texts, the examples, the moments in the story, the quotes, whatever. I am doing an analysis there because first I chose the quotes, right? The quotes you choose are really important. So the quote that I chose must connect to my analysis and my argument. And that's the kind of, that's the fine line, right? That's kind of the art there. And I'm just keep thinking about Frank's question. Is this analysis or argument? Well, of course, it's kind of both. So let's look again at these 2 sentences and talk about it. So from the very beginning of the novel, Steinbeck, notice what am I doing here in this sentence? After I do the quote, when I'm talking about my analysis, Who do I introduce again back here? Author's
Author.
last name. So this is what, now this is more like US college student tricky stuff, right? When I say Steinbeck presents the reader, I'm sort of connecting myself and the author to say my idea, my argument is so clearly correct. My analysis is obviously correct because here's what the author did, right? And it gives you good context for your quotation. So from the very beginning of the novel, Steinbeck presents the reader with a version of village life that is simple, beautiful, and pure. Now, here's another question. Does Steinbeck, in his quote, does Steinbeck say simple, beautiful, and pure?
No,
But is that,
that's
but
your
so
opinion.
Frank, I'll ask you, so is that analysis or is that an argument?
That's a point of view. So
Argument?
no, not argument. This is analysis.
Okay, whatever you say, Frank, whatever you say, I respect it. It's all good. How about this one? Kino wakes up feeling peaceful and content with his wife and child, and he can hear the song of the family in his mind. Now I'm back to summarizing, right? Now I'm back to a summarizing sentence. So here I'm talking about what happened in the story. The story begins with blah, 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 blah. A quote about what happened. Then another sentence just about, I would, again, Frank, I'm gonna leave a comment here and I'm gonna say analysis / argument, whatever it is. Excuse me. And then right after that, analysis or argument. And I'm going to add another comment here. This must be directly related to the quote citation. Now, again, if you took 300, 340, whatever, you're used to this, right? But this is just still something that takes so much time and so much practice. And it's really a skill and an art. So I don't expect you guys to be perfect when you're doing this, but I do expect you to have sentences where you do it, right? You can't just put a quote in here from the book and not analyze it. That will make me a little crazy. You know what I mean? Like if you take the time to write out a quote, tell me what you think it means. You know what I mean? It's really important. It's really important. Does that make sense?
So Professor, here in this like a first paragraph, you try to find a quote or something in a book that supports your idea or your argument in this part, right?
Always, 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 always. And how we talk about your own organization of your own essay, that will depend on what you want to write about. Like I said, do you want to write about Juana or do you want to write about Kino? Once you choose that, then you have to decide, okay, what do I want to write about for that character? Because you're right, Linda, 2,000 words is going to go really fast. If you try to do a full analysis of Kino's character, it's not possible. But if you focus on Kino and greed, or Kino and family, or Kino and his manhood, whatever, right? If you're really focused on a specific topic, then you'll be okay. So once you choose that topic, maybe we could do a brainstorm activity next week, or we could sort of go through that activity. Let's do that. I'm sort of realizing we could do that next week. Once you are clear on your thesis, that will help you organize your body paragraphs. But Linda, no matter what, I'll say an always rule here. I want at least one quote from this book in every body paragraph, right? I want you analyzing and giving your argument, your opinion about something from this book in every single body paragraph, right? So yes, Linda, absolutely yes. That is what.
And one more question, please.
Of course.
I'm sorry if I ask a lot, but I just like want to understand.
It's my job.
Like we all know as a students, like we take it from like let's say the thesis. Sometimes when we have some, let's say, problem and solution, right? We give some solution for the problem. So we start like a first problem, second problem, third problem, and then conclusion or whatever we have.
Could be.
And this part, which part of the like a thesis you used to introduce the first part, like a part or first paragraph?
Yeah, I think this is why I was trying to draw the contrast between small town and city, village and town, good and bad, good and evil, right? So that's why I introduced both of them here. Notice that in the thesis statement, I talk about both the town is evil, ugly, and cruel, And I also talk about people who live in smaller, more traditional villages, right? So I end the thesis with that contrast, people in town, people in the village. And then the first body paragraph starts with Kino in the village, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what this is really, again, I think topic sentences, that's an important idea to understand. But I do think in college writing, this sentence is almost even more of a transition sentence. Like the job of this first sentence in a college essay is to clearly connect back to the essay that came before it. If you want to make your argument or your topic in that first sentence, you can. That's great. That can be really effective. But no matter what, the reader has to feel like your ideas transition together smoothly. So that's why I tried to write it and organize my sentence this way, right? So it's clear that Steinbeck believes that the town is ugly, evil, and cruel, and that it corrupts people who live in smaller, more traditional villages. It's important to point out at the beginning of the story, the reader does not find Kino and his family in the town. The story begins with Kino and his family living peacefully in their grass hut on the beach, right?
Beach.
So I end with villages, and then I say Kino starts at the village, right? So that's kind of a way to transition between those ideas into my analysis and my argument, right?
Yeah.
Excellent question. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Frank, does that make sense? Frank's always good on the structure question.
Oh, yes.
So yes, Frank, does that make sense? Linda's question?
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
Perfect.
So your thesis is the village people.
Exactly. Exactly. These are Kino at the beginning of the story. Kino and Juana are kind and pure people who live in smaller, more traditional villages, right? So good. This is a transition sort of topic sentence, more transition topic sentence. But again, notice some of your transition and topic sentences might kind of be summarizing the story too, right? I mean, this sentence is kind of a short explanation or summary of the plot of what's going on. So notice how these things overlap for you guys at these higher levels, right? We can't anymore say this one sentence is only, we're kind of doing everything all the time. That's why it's so challenging. That's why it's so challenging. So then I introduce a quote. Here I'm explaining the quote through my analysis and or argument. And then I go back to more summary of the plot. Kino wakes up feeling peaceful and content with his wife and child, and he can hear the song of the family in his mind. He sits to have breakfast with his wife after she cooks their meal, and he can hear the song of the family rise to an aching chord that caught the throat, saying, this is safety, this is warmth, this is whole, right? Another summary / quote. I think it's a pretty good quote for my argument, right? I mean, here now we do have these words, safety, warmth, whole, and these are in quotes. These are Steinbeck's words, right? So I show you Steinbeck's words, and then once again, I get my analysis or argument. Tell me, Frank, is this analysis or argument? So here I write the word whole is very important here, as Steinbeck seems to imply that this simple village life removed from the town and its concrete buildings was complete by itself. That is to say, there was no need for anything in the town. Is this analysis, argument, both?
I think both.
Yeah, I think it's both. What do you think, Frank?
More like argument.
Yeah, and if it's more argumentative, tell me. There's a verb that I use in here that is kind of like
imply.
Good, and before that too.
Seems.
I think you're right.
Seems imply.
Yeah, I think these kind of phrases seems to. I'm gonna make these. What's a color I haven't used? I'm gonna make these yellow. Sorry, I got lost here. Where did I go? Where did I go? Here we go. Oh, I can't see it, maybe. Yeah, I can't see it. Yeah, seems to imply, suggests more of the author, I'm going to say of your opinion argument. I still think these the line between analysis and argument is very thin, Frank. But I do think you're right that I am doing something different when I say seems to imply. It's kind of like saying, here's my interpretation, right? Here's what I think this means. Good. But again, does this make sense? I give you, you're going to give me the quote, you're going to give me some example, some moment from the plot, some quote from the book, and then a couple sentences of analysis / argument. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. I'll finish the paragraph, then we'll go on. However, when baby Coyotito is bitten by a scorpion, Kino and Juana decide to visit the doctor, and they're forced to leave the warmth and safety of their village for the cruel world of the town. What am I doing here?
Analysis.
It starts with a T. It's not analysis. It starts with a T.
Oh,
And
the argument.
And it ends with,
Right.
it starts with a T and it ends with a transition. Yeah, this is a transition, right? Here, I'm getting you ready for the next.
Okay. All right.
And it's kind of like transition plus summary, because you're absolutely right. I'm still talking about events from the story, but I'm getting ready to talk about the next paragraph, right? Because if you notice again, however, when baby Coyotito is bitten by a scorpion, Kino and Juana decide to visit the doctor. They're forced to leave the warmth and safety of their village for the cruel world of the town. As Kino and Juana leave their hut to enter the village, right? Again, the last sentence in that paragraph connects to the first sentence of the first paragraph. This is how you're getting that feeling of transition and flows between your ideas and making sure that there's this clear connection. Again, this is not special to literary analysis papers, right? This is all college writing. There's this feeling of flow and connection between the last sentence of a paragraph and the topic sentence of the next paragraph. I'm just trying to make it really clear and obvious to you guys, right?
So you're not summarizing the first paragraph. You just like prepare your reader to the next paragraph.
Good question. Yep, I'd say so. In an essay this long, Linda, that's such a good question. Yeah, I don't think you always need to summarize. You don't need a summary sentence at the end of every paragraph. It's just like, and I think that's because the summary sentence stops the momentum, right? It's like doom, doom,
Yeah.
doom, doom. Here's what I just told you. Doom, doom, doom. In an essay like this, you can keep the energy going. And if you've ever gotten a note or a comment from a teacher in ESL class or any other class that was about the flow of your essay or how your ideas connected together, this really is all that teachers are talking about. They're talking about, does the last sentence, or in really long articles, it could be the last 2 or 3 sentences, right? But in a 2,000-word essay, does your last sentence clearly connect to the first sentence of the next paragraph? And do the ideas support each other? That's what we talk about when we're talking about flow, right? Or how your ideas connect together. Yeah. Again, I think a lot of the lessons in older ESL textbooks are a little too traditional, right? Again, like summarizing what you write is super helpful to develop your language skills, but this will be the last ESL class you ever take, right? Unless you take a grammar class or something. But this is the last ESL writing class, right? So I think it's really important for you guys to see, college level writing like this. It's not always that obvious. It's not always that black and white, you know what I mean? Any questions about this second paragraph? The structure or the ideas?
No, it's clear enough.
Let's go. Paragraph number 3. So as Kino and Juana leave their hut to enter the village, Steinbeck gives us his first description of the town of La Paz. He describes it as a, quote, city of stone and plaster with harsh outer walls. And Kino and Juana heard from the secret gardens the singing of caged birds. What did I do here in this quote?
Like you said, you said your words and then you find a code that is like related to your words.
Yes, and notice I've got city of plaster and stone, and then I've got a word that's not in quotations. Then I've got another quotation, and I've got an ellipsis, right? I've got a dot here. So
Yeah.
if we look at page 8, I'll read for us, but if we look at page 8 where I got this from, I'll read the whole paragraph. So on page 8, oh, I have the PDF. What am I talking about? Hold on. I can show it to you instead of just making you do it blindly here. Hold on. Oh, it's on my desktop. This is another excellent strategy for writing college papers, is being very strategic with your quotes. Okay, you guys? So here's where I quoted, here's the whole quote. They came to the place where the brush houses stopped and the city of stone and plaster began, the city of harsh outer walls and inner cool gardens, where a little water played and the bougainvillea crusted the walls with purple and brick red and white. They heard from the secret gardens the singing of caged birds and heard the splashing of cool water on hot flagstones. The procession crossed the blinding plaza and passed in front of the church. It had grown now, and on the outskirts, the hurrying newcomers were being softly informed how the baby had been stung by a scorpion, how the father and mother were taking it to the doctor. And notice, I did not use that whole quote. I chose very specific words that support my argument / analysis, right? I only included these words. He describes it as a, quote, city of stone and plaster, which is true, right? The city of stone and plaster, that's in there. That's a quote. But then I don't keep going, right? I didn't keep going. I just added my own word to create a transition here, excuse me. So with, quote, harsh outer walls. Again, I chose this because the word harsh supports my argument, right? Of ugly, cold, mean. Harsh has a very strong sort of, strong and maybe violent. I mean, harsh does have kind of that violent feeling to it as an adjective. So I say harsh outer walls, but notice with inner cool gardens. Well, that sounds very nice and calm and relaxing. Notice in the document, I did not include that in my quote, right? With harsh outer walls, ... I just skip that part of the quote and pick up the quote wherever I want from the same page. This is a trick, not even a trick. This is an expectation. This is what every US college student is doing, right? Like I said, any program, if you're analyzing an article for a nursing class, psychology class, or ECE class, whatever, this type of strategic quoting to support your argument, I'm just going to start saying argument now, to support your argument is really important, right? So I skip the part that sounds good about cool inner gardens, and this part sounds really nice, where a little water played and the bougainvillea crested the walls with purple and brick red and white. That all sounds very nice. You know, bougainvillea is beautiful flowers and purple and brick red and white. I was like, oh, it sounds very nice. Cut it. I'm not putting it in a quote. But I do like this idea of caged birds. And if you remember, caged birds comes up over here on page 9 as well. So this symbol, thinking about poetry again, this symbol of the birds is here, right? It is in these pages. I'm not making stuff up. I'm not just lying, right? But I am choosing what to include. So I took that whole quote and turned it into, he describes it as a city of stone and plaster with harsh outer walls, ... Kino and Juana heard from the secret garden the singing of caged birds. I'm going to put as my note here, my comment, this is called a strategic quote. And then you know what's going to happen after this, hopefully. Analysis, 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 explanation, 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 argument, 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 right? So here I say, Steinbeck describes the town walls as harsh and ugly, which is a stark contrast to the warmth and peace of Kino and Juana's village. Further, the image of the caged birds is important because, in a way, Kino and Juana are like these birds. When they are in the town, They are trapped in a cage where they do not truly belong and they cannot get free. When Kino and Juana finally arrive at the doctor's house, the doctor and his servant treat Kino's family very poorly. Okay, this is kind of a new transition here. But let's look at these example sentences. What do you think of these analysis sentences? Does it make sense? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or you're like, Jeff, you can't say that. You can't prove that. Like, what do you think about this analysis? Susanna,
Good argument.
what do you think?
I think it's a really good argument.
Susanna likes my argument. Okay, that's good. Yeah, go ahead, Susanna.
It explains, why he thinks like this. If you wrote this, it just brings up all the evidences.
Yes.
Be sure, like, this is the argument.
Good. Excellent. Frank, what do you think? Susanna's saying 100% this is an argument. Do you think this is argument, analysis?
No, this is analysis.
What?
Analysis.
And here's the real answer, guys. It doesn't matter. This is like good and evil, right? This is like, now we're talking about, it's like he says about a parable, right? This story is a parable. This debate, it has to be an argument or it has to be analysis. Of course, it's not. It's always both, right? At this 350 level, it is going to be both, right? Because you guys are having bigger, deeper, more interesting and more complex thoughts and ideas, not just your language skills, but just the type of ideas, right? So I think it's kind of both. But does it bother you, Frank, that when Susanna says it's an argument, do you understand why she says that?
No, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
When you see it says Steinberg describes the town walls as harsh and ugly, which is a stark contrast to the warmth and peace of Kino's and Juana's village, right? The further the image of the cage bird is important because, in a way,
I do.
Are like these birds. Why they are like these birds? So he brings an argument over here. When they are in town, they are trapped in a cage where they do not truly belong and they cannot get free.
Yeah. And I'll say again, like Frank was pointing out, seems to imply, as Suzanne is absolutely correct here, when we say in a way, it is kind of a way of saying, go ahead,
sentence main idea is the same, that overall this sentence is telling us the same story.
You're right.
From the book.
You're right. You're right. I think, and it's really interesting, and I think it is a good example. This
except that she pointed out harsh and those are maybe more to explain more harder feeling,
Well,
except this.
Exactly. So those adjectives, those words that give us that feeling. But I do think this example is a good one of how it really is both analysis and argument, right? So the analysis of, okay, I see the symbol of the caged birds. My analysis is that that's a feeling of being trapped. That's a feeling of being in a place where you're not supposed to be. That symbol of a bird in a cage gives me that trapped feeling. That's kind of analysis. But then to say Steinbeck talks about the caged birds because he wants us to see Kino and Juana like the caged birds because they're trapped in the town. That's kind of the argument part, right? And they go together, right? You have to do the analysis of the symbols, the plot, the characters. You have to do that analysis before you can make this kind of argument, right? And that's what I mean. They work together, right? They work together. Does that make sense, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any questions about well, I'm going to finish here, but so any questions about this?
Like a first professor, when you said this Steinbeck, he said describe and this is your words, right? As a writer.
Where tell me again.
The same one that Steinbeck describes the town walls as a harsh and ugly, which is stark contrast. This is your words, right? As a writer.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly. Yep.
So I feel like here it's a kind of analysis and argument too, because you are first analyzes that the two part of the paragraph, right? The two sentences in the beginning.
Yep.
And then you argue about the Kino and Juana.
Yep.
There's a lot of argument, transition, and analysis. I mean, the whole paper is analysis.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, this is what I mean. And even if you, whatever you do for this class and this essay, it's going to be great. I'm going to love it and enjoy it, right? But this type of essay that I'm showing you right now, I swear to God, you guys, like, this is college writing. You're going back and forth between quote, analysis, argument, quote, analysis, explanation, summary, summary, quote, argument, explanation. I mean, like, this is, and that's why I don't love the 5-paragraph essay thing that we teach you guys. Well, I don't teach you guys that, but other teachers teach that because it teaches it like a math equation. And at the lower
Like
level,
one standard.
yeah, and at the lower level, it is like a math equation. But if you're in 350, you're taking college. That this is a UC class. This is a Cal State class. You get 4 units. So I think it's really important that you see a real essay. But I have good news. Like Susanna was saying, the whole essay, we're at the beginning still, right? 3rd paragraph. Once you get some feeling for this, you just do it over and over again, right? Like, it feels weird to do it at first, but you'll see for the rest of these body paragraphs, it's exactly this, right? It's transition sentence, quote, analysis, argument, it's all the same thing. Once you develop this skill of like, I'm doing this kind of weaving image, right? This weaving metaphor, that once you get comfortable doing that, you can do it for any type of essay. And that's the good news, right? That's the good news. But I think it's hard to learn and it's hard to teach. And that's why even at this 350 level, it might be the first time we're doing it this way, So yes, these are the author of the essay's words. And this is the type of writing you'll really get to practice, Linda. Like, this is what I really want you guys to practice. Give me a quote and then do an analysis / argument with it, right? Tell me what it means and why it's connected to your thesis. That's what I really want you to practice. That's because that skill, man, it's very valuable at university. It really is. It really is. Cool. Great question. Any other questions about this first half, and then I'll continue. Cool. Like I said, it'll look pretty familiar. So again, just so we know where I'm at, I'll read the whole paragraph, but I'm going to keep going. So as Kino and Juana leave their hut to enter the village, Steinbeck gives us his first description of the town of La Paz. He describes it as a city of stone and plaster with harsh outer walls. Kino and Juana heard from the secret gardens the singing of caged birds. Steinbeck describes the town walls as harsh and ugly, which is a stark contrast to the warmth and peace of Kino and Juana's village. Further, the image of the caged birds is important because, in a way, Kino and Juana are like these birds. When they're in the town, they're trapped in a cage where they do not truly belong and they cannot get free. When Kino and Juana finally arrive at the doctor's house, the doctor and his servant treat Kino's family very poorly. In fact, the doctor is racist and cruel to Kino, and Kino feels, quote, weak and afraid and angry at the same time. Rage and terror went together. Page 9. Again, it is important to note that it is only after visiting the town and meeting the people who live there that Kino's beautiful song of the family is interrupted by rage and terror. This is a clear example of how Steinbeck shows the reader that the town represents cruelty, as it corrupts the protagonist of the story and changes him to be angry and afraid. These two emotions will become very large for Kino after he finds the pearl of the world. I think I should change this to even larger. So again, transition, 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 transition sentence. But I've got another example here. And let's just look at this again. Let's keep it simple. Okay, these two sentences. If we can say one is analysis and one is argument, which one is the analysis sentence and which one is argument?
So this is a clear example how I don't know. It's both.
Yeah, it's tricky. I keep
It
thinking,
brings it again. It is important to note that it's only after visiting the town and meeting the people who live there that Kino's beautiful song of the family is interrupted by rage and terror. Um,
is that a fact or is that my opinion as the author?
Right.
What do you think, Frank? Is it a fact or my opinion?
The
This one, that only after visiting the town and meeting the people who live there, that Kino's beautiful song of the family is interrupted by rage and terror. Is this just a fact?
Yes, I
it's
think yes. And but this is your words.
Well, it is, I mean, I'm interpreting it, but this is what
Yeah.
happens in the book, right? Like, so
Yeah.
this is what I mean, right? Like, I am the author of the essay. I am choosing to present information in a very specific way to the reader, you guys, right? But
By your own words.
But I will say, this is what happens in the book, right? On page 1 and 2, he's happy, he's by the water, he's with his wife, he eats breakfast. Then on page 8, he goes into the city and he's afraid and he's angry. That is true, right? That's just analysis, right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe we could say, now I'm making just flat out an argument. Now this is maybe just my own opinion. And I'm going to sound like a real, American college expert. This is a clear example of how Steinbeck shows the reader that the town represents cruelty as it corrupts the protagonist of the story and changes him to be angry and afraid. Right? So I'd say this part,
it's argument.
more of those more if we're going to say, okay, there are certain words, there are certain phrases, there are certain clues to say, your opinion, essay author opinion. This might be another good example where it's like, okay, this is that wind up, like, and now I'm going to tell you what this means. Boom. It means what I said in my thesis, right? That's the whole deal. That's the whole thing over and over and over again. And then after I've got that, so this is a clear example of how Steinbeck shows the reader that the town represents cruelty as it corrupts the protagonist of the story and changes him to be angry and afraid. And then I just have a flat out transition. Like, now I'm just kind of moving my essay along by focusing on the plot. These two emotions will become even larger for Kino after he finds the pearl of the world. Later in the story, Kino goes diving and finds the pearl of the world. Like,
basically, with each paragraph, you are doing a transition.
Yeah. Especially in an essay like this, you guys, because you are writing about a story that has a beginning, middle, and end, you can let the plot be your structure, right? The plot of the story can just be how you organize your essay, right? I think there are many different ways to do a character analysis essay, but I invite you and I hope that you will use this pretty simple structure, right? Which is, well, use the plot, start at the beginning, middle, and end. You know what I mean? Like, make your life easy. You don't need to summarize every plot, every moment in the book, right? That's why we'll talk about this much more next week, but choosing your quotes and choosing the things from the story you want to talk about is really important, right? And that's before you even start writing. You should identify, oh, I want to talk about the moment where Kino does this. I want to talk about the moment where Kino is at the pool with the wild animals. You know what I mean? Like, you want to decide what examples, what quotes you're going to write about, and that will help you organize your essay too. Next week, like I said, I was already going to do an activity to find good quotes, but I think we should do a brainstorm activity and a sort of activity to help you guys find quotes that you can actually use in your essay, right? Because that's very important, right? That's very, very important. Choosing the best quotes to support your argument is really, really important too. But we'll talk more about that next week. Yeah, Susanna.
So basically, we're going to take one character and analyze that character.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the other person in the analyzing paper?
If you've got a proposal or an idea, that's fine.
Make a connection between the analyzed person and the whoever we want to.
Oh yeah, if you talk about Kino, you're gonna probably have to talk about how he interacts with Juana. And if you talk about Juana, you'll probably have to talk about how she interacts with Kino. But again, the difference is, that's a great question, Susanna. The difference is when you're writing your essay, you'll focus specifically on one of the two of them, right? But it's a great question, and yeah, you will. You'll definitely do that. Great question.
I do have a question on this paragraph. I want to ask you why you cut off why you break the quotation like a mark and after in fact line 6.
Yep.
In fact, the doctor.
Oh, let's see.
Line 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In fact, the doctor is racist and cruel to Kino and feels. So I started the quote in the middle of the sentence.
Yeah, and then the end of the sentences, you just like break the quotation, like like I said, you rage and terror, right?
This is MLA in-text citation format. I can post videos if people need a review on in-text citation, but this is just proper MLA in-text citation, right? You start the quote.
So you cannot like connect it together, or well, you just like do.
How would you connect it together? What would you want to do?
Look, in fact, the doctor is right when cruel to Kino, and Kino feels weak and afraid and angry at the same time. Like with some transition word.
Well, but the reason that this is exactly how it looks in the book, right? That's why I just kept the same punctuation. On page 9, it's
because it's quotation, so we cannot like do any transition.
Yeah, great. That's it. Finally, I explained what I was doing there to you to make it clear. Yes. So here it was in the original book, Linda, it says, and as always, when he came near to one of this race, Kino felt weak. And I notice again, strategic quoting, right? Where did I start this quote? Kino felt weak and afraid and angry at the same time. So in the in my essay, I just said Kino feels weak and afraid and angry. In the book, it's, and as always, when he came near to one of his race, Kino felt. But notice I kept the same verb. It's not like I made stuff up, right? I didn't change anything from the book. I just started the quote later from the book. So Kino felt weak and afraid and angry at the same time, period. Rage and terror went together, period. And I chose to end my in-text citation at the after together. So that's why I just close the quotation, give you the page number, period. And that's the way of saying, hey, even if this punctuation looks weird, which it does, this is the quote, right? This is what it looks like in the book.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Good question. I've got a lot of different, part of this was to show you different MLA formatting stuff too. So excellent question, Linda. Thank you. I was so excited to talk about the strategic quote here. Get good at this, you guys. If you're going to get a bachelor's degree, get good at this strategic quote like this. It's very useful. It's very, very useful. Any other questions about this paragraph? Paragraph number 3.
No.
All right. Let's see. I think we can get at least one more paragraph here. So again, transition. These two emotions will become even larger for Kino after he finds the pearl of the world. Later in the story, Kino goes diving and finds the pearl of the world. He, Juana, and all of the people who live in the village recognize the beauty and power of the pearl. However, Kino sees not only the beauty of the pearl, but what the pearl can do for him. He begins to imagine a new life for himself as a result of the riches. He feels he deserves for finding the pearl. He imagines a wedding in the church in the town, buying new clothes for himself and his family, and even a new harpoon and rifle for himself. In order to make these dreams come true, Kino has to go into the town to sell his pearl to the pearl buyers. At this moment in the story, Steinbeck once again offers the reader an image of the town that is both exciting but dangerous and cruel. Okay, so all of these sentences are doing the same thing. What am I doing?
Analyzing.
I don't even think we're doing too much analysis. I think it starts with an S.
Sorry, what happens?
Yeah, I think this is just summarizing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing this here because I want to talk about the town, right? I want to get to the town. Well, the next time Kino goes back to the town is to go to the pearl buyers. But just to make sure, again, this flow, this feeling of information. I sort of gave a short summary here to say he finds the pearl, he has to go to the town, but I really want to get to, you see, I've got a big quote here, right? So I really want to get to my quote, but before I get to this quote in the story, this part in the plot, I had to summarize a little bit about what happened to prepare the reader, because notice my quote, oh, yo.
But for the summarizing, did you mention about the wedding before and stuff like that? He wanted it. I'm sorry.
What is going on? But where did my essay go? Whoa. Maybe there it is. Right, so I wanted to point out, excuse me, here in this paragraph, let me open up my comments again so we can see. Oops, excuse me. Cool. So notice the last time I had a quote, I had a quote from page 9, but the next quote that I want, that I give you, is from page 21 here, right? That's what this is. So that's why I've got some sentences here that give the reader a short summary of what happens between page 9 and 21, right? That's kind of why I feel like I'm trying to give a summary here, is to get you ready for the next quote, right? And I'm going to go back to the regular essay view because I want you to see why I did a different formatting for this quote. So later in the story, Kino goes diving, finds the pearl of the world. Summary: he, Juana, and all of the people who live in the village recognize the beauty and power of the pearl. Summary: that's just true. That just happens. However, Kino sees not only the beauty of the pearl, but what the pearl can do for him. Maybe I'm giving my opinion, but this is basically true, right? Because he does begin to imagine a new life for himself as a result of the riches he feels he deserves for finding the pearl. He does imagine a wedding in the church in the town, buying new clothes for himself as his family, as even a new harpoon. I'll fix the grammar here, guys. And even a new harpoon and rifle for himself. In order to make these dreams come true, Kino has to go into the town. Notice now I go back to the town. All of those sentences before this were summarizing the plot to get me back into the town here, right? And then I go right back to the author's last name because I've got this big, long quote where he really describes the town. At this moment in the story, Steinbeck once again offers the reader an image of the town that is both exciting but dangerous and cruel. He writes that. And then I've got this big, long quote, and I'll tell you why it looks different. A town is a thing like a colonial animal. A town has a nervous system and a head and shoulders and feet. A town is a thing separate from all other towns so that there are no two towns alike. And a town as a whole emotion. How news travels through a town is a mystery not easily to be solved. News seems to move faster than small boys can scramble and dark to tell it, faster than women can call it over fences. Notice, how many lines do I have in this quote here? How many lines of text?
5.
And here's the rule. Notice how I have this, this is all indented off the page. So if you have Microsoft Word, you guys, these buttons will give you the increase and decrease. So you can just do this. So all I did to make this happen was, it looks like this at first. I just hit increase indent, and then it all goes off the page indented. And the rule for MLA formatting is you can have a big, long quote, but if it's 5 sentences, if it's 5 lines of text, it needs to be set off. It needs to be indented from the page so that it's not just a big chunk of your paragraph. So you can have, I'll let you guys, I have another one in here. If you guys want to have 2 long quotes in your essay, like 5 lines, that's fine. But get good practice doing this MLA formatting, okay? And again, the way to do it is just choose the whole quote and go up to this button here that says increase indent, hit it 1 time, and it'll do it for you like this, okay? Any questions about that formatting thing? Not the most, you know, not the coolest thing in the world, but still useful skill. So hopefully you can use it. And now here's where I'll do my analysis. Here, Steinbeck presents the town as a powerful place of gossip and information sharing. It is almost as if the privacy and tranquility of a small, notice I already see, almost as if. I'm thinking of Frank saying it's an argument, it's an argument. It is almost as if the privacy and tranquility of a small family is not possible in a town that has its own nervous system. It is also important to note that Steinbeck describes the town as mysterious and something that is impossible to figure out. This is especially true for Kina and Juana, who once again become infected by the energy that the town is producing. Now notice, what did I do here? I give a big long quote, but then I choose to talk about 1, 2, in a quote like this, you guys could even do 2 or 3 of the key words that are really in the quote, whether those words are adjectives, whether they are symbols like the bird in the cage, right? Whatever it's going to be. But you can have a nice big long quote to introduce the most important idea. And a really good strategy after you do that is to highlight 2 or 3 symbols or keywords and explain, again, as always, this is my repeating, how it connects back to your thesis, right? How does it connect back to your thesis? How does it connect back to city versus village? How does it connect to safe versus violent? How does it connect to warm and comfortable versus dangerous, right? So that's the same thing that I'm trying to do over and over again in these analysis sentences after the quotes. But again, just to repeat one more time, a big long quote like this, highlight 2 or 3 keywords: nervous system, mysterious, and then include those in your analysis, right? Questions about this? Because this is the same thing, but I'm just doing a little bit differently because I've got a different format for the quote. So question.
Hello. Hello.
I think something.
I can hear you. Just like I think the professor disconnect with us, right?
It was.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. I thought just me.
Yeah, I know. I it is my connection or not.
Yeah.
I think he's not so good today.
Sorry, guys. Slow internet. Sorry.
Is that the argument
Let's look at it.
for
Hold on.
after this here to the producing?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think
Professor?
Can I hear it?
Probably, yeah, some connection issue.
I think Professor has a connection.
I was thinking of you, Frank. So almost as if anytime is doing this, Steinbeck is doing that analysis, right? Because this is where the internet is slow today. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that, you guys. Frank, did I answer your question or not?
No, I'm sorry. The computer is off, so I cannot hear what you said.
Yeah. So I was saying,
Can you repeat again, please?
yeah. So I was saying again, anytime I'm saying almost as if, or if you as the author in your essay say Steinbeck is doing this, Steinbeck is doing that, This is probably closer to an argument, right? Because you're connecting the analysis of the text to your own thesis, right? Your argument for what it means and why it means what you think it does. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. More examples of how they're both connected, right? Analysis, argument, argument, analysis, how they go together, how they're connected. Any other questions about this paragraph, the big quote or the strategy of choosing to emphasize specific keywords from a big block quote? Any questions about that? Let's do one more paragraph. It's got another big long quote in it. Okay. Let's do one more. This paragraph, by the way, I'm going to zoom out to show you, but just notice even in the structure of the essay, this paragraph right here looks a lot like this paragraph right here, right? Like, I mean, these are big, long paragraphs, but the reason that they're big and long is I've got a big, long quote from the text in the middle. So you can probably guess what happens here, right? Introduce context from the plot here, introduce the quote, analyze the quote, right? That paragraph structure is going to look very familiar here. So as Kino and Juana walk toward the pearl buyers, a big crowd of people begin to follow him. This should be them, excuse me. As Kino and Juana walk toward the pearl buyers, a big crowd of people begin to follow them. The crowd includes people from Kino's village, as well as people who live in the town, like the beggars. So there is a true mixture of the peaceful village life and the cruel town life. Facts, 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 right? All of this is what happened in the book. This is just what happened. It is in this mixture that Steinbeck offers his most damning description of the town. He writes that, and now this quote is kind of like my biggest argument for the town is evil, because let's look at, I mean, there's some very clear stuff in here. So the essence of the pearl mixed with the essence of men, and a curious dark residue was precipitated. Every man suddenly became related to Kino's pearl, and Kino's pearl went into the dreams, the speculations, the schemes, the plans, the futures, the wishes, the needs, the lusts, the hungers of everyone. And only one person stood in the way, and that was Kino, so that he became curiously every man's enemy. The news stirred up something infinitely black and evil in the town. The black distillate was like the scorpion, or like hunger in the smell of food, or like loneliness when love is withheld. The poison sacs of the town began to manufacture venom, and the town swelled and puffed with the pressure of it. I mean, not very subtle, right? This is some very clear, lots of good vocab words in here. And as you'll see, I'll begin my analysis. This is a clear and unambiguous example of Steinbeck telling the reader that the town itself produces evil. In the town, the pearl makes every man an enemy of Kino simply because he has something that they want. In the pearl, this form of jealousy and greed is only found in the bus, not in Kino's peaceful village. Steinbeck is also very clear that it is the mixture of the pearl, something pure and natural, with the essence of men that creates this black and evil feeling in the town. Once again, the town of La Paz is evil and corrupts the kind and beautiful people of the village, like Kino and Juana. This corruption becomes even more dangerous when it spreads from the town out into Kino in his own home. So I'll just ask you guys, this is the last sentence of this paragraph here. This corruption becomes even more dangerous when it spreads from the town out into Kino's own home. What part of the plot do you think that I'm going to talk about in the next paragraph?
About their burning house, I think.
Linda, eso, that's exactly it, right? Well, I'm going to talk about when the doctor comes, when the men come to try and rob him, when they burn his house down. Linda, thank you. Exactly, right? That's what I mean about transition and connecting, right? That we've been talking about for this class today. But let's talk about this analysis. Let's talk about, so we don't need to worry about that sentence right there. That's our transition sentence. But what do we see in this analysis? What do you think about this quote? This will be the last paragraph we analyze for today. My my attention, my focus is waning here. What do we think about this paragraph, and what do we notice? Ideas, questions? What do we think? Makes sense? Maybe I'll just ask you now. I'm going to lean back. You agree, disagree, Frank? Tell me.
Yes, I agree. And
Does it
this
make
is your, yes. Yes, I think this makes sense. So this is your argument, right?
What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't think it's an argument. It's kind of summarizing.
I mean,
No, analyzing.
yeah, it's kind of, this is one where I don't know if we can say one. This is kind of like, this is what I mean when we're in an essay like this, we're always doing all three. We're kind of always summarizing, always analyzing, always making our argument. But here's my question. Is it clear that these sentences, analysis, argument, whatever, connect back to the thesis?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Linda, Frank, and Susanna say yes, and that makes me happy, right? The most important thing, in my opinion, is not that you have one perfect analysis sentence, then one perfect argument sentence. It's not like that. What I want is whatever your analysis or argument or whatever you do, I want it to very clearly connect back to your thesis statement. My thesis statement was, for Steinbeck, the town is evil. All of this analysis, even though this is the first time that I'm introducing this idea of greed and jealousy, right? This is the first time I'm introducing those topics, those themes. Maybe that's why there's this feeling of, oh, it's kind of summarizing the whole plot, you know, whatever. Whatever you do, you can do this. You can introduce themes and topics later on in the essay. That's totally fine, right? But it's got to be clear that it connects back to your thesis statement from the very beginning of the essay. That's kind of the most important thing. Not give me two analysis and one argument sentences, but keep going back to your thesis, right? Tell me what happens in the story, give me a quote, analyze the quote, right? And by analyze, I mean, connect it back to your thesis. Other examples or questions about these sentences?
I think these two like a paragraph are like a good example for this essay.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel like it's more clear.
I hope so. And we're gonna finish. I didn't know that we, you know, this essay is 2,100 words. So we didn't get to finish the whole essay today. That's fine. We'll finish it next week. But I think you're exactly correct, Linda. Like if after today's class, you look at this essay and go, okay, like I kind of understand the structure, then you're in, let me see, why can't I find these paragraphs that we were just looking at? Too far behind, excuse me. I'm multitasking, it's never a good idea. Yeah, if you look at these two paragraphs that we just looked at, Linda, and you're like, okay, I kind of understand how to structure my paragraphs. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. And next week, like I said, we'll do a brainstorm activity and an activity to help you practice finding quotes. So if you can, you know, it'll be good to have the book. It'll be good to have the book with you next week if you can, because I'd like to give you guys some time to find quotes that you know you want to use in the book. So if you're watching the recording too, start thinking about what are moments, think about Kino and Wana, and think about moments from the plot that you remember that you think are really important. Because whatever those moments are, those are probably ones that you want to include, right? If you want to write about when Kino slaps Wana, that's a very painful and difficult scene. But if that's really important for you to understand the characters, go find that in the book, get the page and find it, right? If you want to talk, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, that beautiful moment when Juana scoops up Coyotito at the beginning and she sucks the poison out, right? She will take the poison into her mouth to save her baby, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, I'm just telling you things that I remember. Whatever those moments are, start to think about them now, because next week we can think about how to find them, put them into your essay and start to analyze them, right? Excuse me. Any other ideas or questions? Cool. I'd say that'd be my suggestion. In the next week, read this whole essay. I have it here for you. It's there for you. Look at the structure, look at the examples, go back and read it. And if you really want to get ahead, if you want to feel like you're ahead of the game, find quotes from the book that are really memorable and important to you. And you could even start typing them into a Word document right now. I think I've said this at the very beginning of class this semester. When I have an essay to write, the first thing I do is go to the books that I'm going to quote, and I'll just start typing quotes that I know I'm going to use. And that way I've got 400 or 500 words, maybe. Maybe if I've got 4 or 5 quotes, I know, okay, well, I've already got 400 or 500 words worth of quotes, and these are the quotes that I want to organize and analyze, right? So that's another sort of good essay writing strategy that you could use this week if you want to get even more prepared for next week when I introduce the assignment.
Or take a picture, like I did this before, like analyze the essay in like a 340. So I just like took a picture for the quotes that I needed in my essay, and then just like I use it.
Perfect. Excellent. I love it. Yeah, you could exactly go through the book and take pictures, however you want to do it. There's so many ways to do it now with the technology. So however you do it is fine with me. Any other ideas or questions? Are you more comfortable or confident or excited to write this essay?
So still, yeah, it is very complicated compared to the other writing. So it's gonna be interesting.
Well, the first project is much more of a creative type of project, Frank. And yeah, this one is to really have you practice, you know, if you took 340, you know, right? Like college level writing, but doing it to analyze a book instead of analyzing an article or a newspaper, you know, a newspaper story or something like that.
Yeah.
So
this is more, yeah.
That's why we'll do it, you know, in basically in 4 weeks, over 4 weeks. So I strongly suggest find quotes that you want to use and bring them to class next week. Class will be even more effective and interesting if you can do that. So that's phase 1, right? Choose who you want to write about, choose the quotes that you really like. And the next week we'll start practice putting it together, Frank, so that it feels less complicated.
Okay.
Yep. Any other ideas, questions, anything? Read my example essay. That's my other suggestion. Like if you read my essay and analyze this example for you, you'll start to notice the structure much more easily, right? So that's why I took your advice, Frank, about let's look at an example, right? Let's look at an example. So I think you were right. I think it's good to see this example. Cool. If that's it, we'll go a little bit early today just because that was dense. I'd love to see the highlighted lines on the sample too. No, Sanad, watch the video. I don't want to put the one we did. I don't want to put this one in there. I want to, I'll think about it, Sanad. I'll think about it. She's laughing. I would rather you watch the video and hear me talk about it because if you just look at it, it might not make, I'll think about it, Sanad. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I'd rather you watch the video though. I would rather you watch the video. Any other questions or ideas? Awesome. You guys are great. And I will see you in a week.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, Frank. Thank you.
Thank you,
very much.
Professor. Take care.
Thank you so much, you too.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes, please. Yeah, oh, let me stop recording here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.